How to use green tea. Tea, whale cha in Peking and Guangdong dialects, those in Amoi and tzai-e in Taiwanese, is a beverage obtained by cooking, brewing or infusing a leaf of a tea bush, which is prepared in advance in a special way. Tea is also called the leaf itself, intended for the preparation of this drink. So tea is basically two extreme types of black and green. This is like red and white wine, in fact the same tea, but differing in the method of processing. As you yourself could logically guess, green tea is a live, green, unprocessed tea leaf, and as such, there is the best kind of tea that, in terms of health, you can consume, full stop. There are no discussions about this among specialists. Green tea is a green leaf as it is, therefore it is green from chlorophyll, which, as you know, is a substance of the same chemical formula as hemoglobin, therefore, all green vegetation consumed inside regenerates and cleans the blood. From here you can guess which top quality tea is the one that is a rolled up green leaf. When it gets into hot water, it turns into a full leaf, and when you see full leaves in tea, you see that tea is the highest grade. Easier examination nowhere. The smaller the tea, from its grinding, the lower its grade, which has more to do with the high cost of tea than its usefulness. Black tea is a thermally processed green leaf. It is absolutely correct to say that black tea is roasted green tea. In the presence of air, naturally, the green leaf is naturally roasted upon thermal heating, that is, oxidized. This process in tea business is incorrectly called fermentation, is wrong, because nothing in this process, such as in the process of fermenting wine or beer, is not fermented, that is, does not occur with the participation of enzymes, but on the contrary, the fragments are destroyed, forced oxidation and partial destruction of green tea leaves using elevated temperature. Like any living flesh, a green leaf in the process of forced heating begins to oxidize, burn, and all the living substances in the leaf denature, that is, become dead, deactivated, dephosphorylated, and outside the green leaf becomes black. Thus, the difference, you drink green and black tea, is fundamental. It's like in a fairy tale between living and dead water. No wonder that in our looking glass, for the most part only black tea is sold. New York tea owners report that Lipton, the largest American tea producer, which supplies more than half of all American tea to the market, produces only just one green tea. Have you seen many varieties of green tea in the USSR? Most Soviet people used to think that tea is only black and no more, and green is something with chemical green additives and more harmful. And I'm not joking, most of the Soviet people really thought that before. Who implicitly spread such misinformation in society, we can only guess, but as you can see, American society also hooked it on black tea, dead water, not living water. If you are already familiar with the rules of processing living and dead substances by Prof. Stolshnikov, then you know the basic rule: do not denature a living substance, that is, do not heat it up, or minimally. Tea making is no exception to this rule. The Chinese owners of the New York tea chain report that green tea should be brewed with hot water, but by no means boiling water. Why? For the same reason. If you brew green tea with boiling water, you denature the live leaf and actually turn the tea into black, although outwardly it will not be black in the circle. Tea owners emphasize that green tea should be brewed with hot water of about 40 to 60 degrees, but not boiling water. For a long time, therefore, again, brewing green tea is not necessary, because the living substances in the solution quickly decompose, such as orange juice. If you squeeze fresh orange, then after standing, the vitamins in it begin to decompose. Drink green tea should be within 2 minutes after pouring hot water. Note that it is impossible to speak about brewing in the case of preparing green tea. Green tea is not brewed but poured. Brew it black tea. Black tea can be brewed as you want, it is still a dead leaf. And with a dead leaf, you can do anything at all, biochemically, there is no difference anymore. Therefore, with black tea, in principle, you can do anything. Cooking black tea is no different from cooking any decoction, decoctum. You can pour black tea with boiling water for 1 minute, for 10 minutes, at least for the whole day in the kettle, at least for a week. You can forget, return from vacation and drink. You can brew it twice, 3 times, until it gives at least some yellowing. You can boil it on the fire for a whole hour, as the Chafir Shaki do. The difference will be, but not basic, only in the concentration and degree of degradation, all the same, already dead original tea biosubstances. As a result of any manipulations with black tea, you will still not get live tea. Not to say, of course, that a black drink is made from black tea, something remains in it. Practice shows that such as any herbal decoction, still has positive properties, but one thing is clear, that the properties of dead black tea cannot be qualitatively compared with fundamentally different, life-giving properties of green tea. And note that the matter here, as most tea makers think, is not at all in concentration. Living green tea, like living words of love, cannot be compared with words on paper. And black tea is semi-burnt tea, and the more it is black, the more it is burnt and burnt. And one more important point not to be missed from the methods of Prof. Stolzhnikov. Namely, that green tea cannot be thrown into the trash, it must be consumed completely. Look at what tenderness! That's why green tea should be bought as the highest grade. After the green tea leaf in the water has softened, it is not just possible, but it is necessary to use it in everything: salads, potatoes, buckwheat porridge, soup, etc. etc. In many places in northern Russia, used green tea can sometimes be the only source of such chlorophyll and other living substances that the human body needs. I do not want to use such a well-worn and vulgar word as vitamins. But with the used black tea, because it is hard, so famously and with great benefit, it can no longer be used. As you can see, everything is simple when everything is honest, and the conversation is from the point of view of biochemistry, and not magic spells. In life, I met tea lovers who brought their tea consumption to a state of worship. They brew tea in certain kettles, brew, say, exactly in a stopwatch for 5 minutes, brew only with white boiling water, etc. etc. They do not consider green tea for tea at all, and furnish their consumption of black tea with ritual mysticism, fog. This is always done when there is no clue about the processes involved. As you can see, we have just shown that from the point of view of biochemistry and botany, everything is very simple. The conclusion from this statement, you have already done. It is interesting only in connection with this one end, as always, and also, who in our mirror glass and for what purpose imposed the use of tea in its black, denatured form? Remember, before the Crimean War, with the British who had already colonized tea India and China, they had never heard of tea in Russia. And then immediately every teapot knows that English tea, they say, is the best. No biochemistry, just remember that, say, English tea is the best. But after all, in England tea does not grow.